Hey, what is going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in to another edition of the Snap Counts podcast, where we look at some of the early action from around the NFL, give you our thoughts and just discuss kind of some storylines from earlier in the day. So we're back with Trajan back on the show. How you doing, Trajan?
Well, Badgers men's basketball pulled off huge upset Friday. The football team got within about, an inch of beating Oregon on Saturday. So that was, exciting, then depressing at the same time. Phil Longo got fired, though. So I'm fired up. I'm fired up for that. And the Packers, well, they stunk. They stunk and they still beat the Bears. So that tells you how bad the Bears got it right now is they sucked and they still ended up beating the Bears on a blocked field goal. So, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it how I can get it. But man, oh man, those Packers, they got some problems. They got some problems they got to figure out here soon.
I mean, yeah, and look, for every team that has aspirations, there's those weeks where you just don't have it. And the fact that they were able to still get the win, like, you'll take that. You just hope there aren't too many more performances like that. Yeah, so look, we'll get into some of the action from today. I mean, I guess we could start there because I have seen it's already started on like TikTok and stuff. Bears fans losing their mind because they were hoping that this is the time where they're going to finally get that win over Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is gone. You got Jordan Love. They're setting up for a 46-yarder, which is makeable for every kicker. Although the video I did see was like, what else is 46 yards away? The double doink. I was like, okay, Bears fans are like setting themselves up for them to miss it, and it gets blocked. So, like you said, the Packers didn't play well, but like, do you think? Actually, let's start with the Bears because I feel like there's a lot of coaches coming into this week that had a lot of attention on them, and I think Eberflus is one of them. Did you think the Bears played inspired football today, trying to maybe play for their coach, or do you think that it was more about the Packers just not executing and allowing the Bears to stay in that game?
A little bit of both. I thought it was a little bit of both. I think having let go of the offensive coordinator, getting this new guy into town here, I thought that his play calling actually played well into what they should have been doing earlier, was quick passes, getting the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands as fast as possible. I think I looked at the stat like midway through the game. His average time through week 9 was like 2.9 seconds, and in that game against the Packers it was like 2.01 or something like that. Like, it was just a crazy stat. So I mean, getting the ball out of his hands, he looked a fit 23 for 31. Like, that's probably one of his better games that he's played so far. So hats off to what they had designed in that game. Quick throws, getting it to a Dunze or getting it to DJ Moore out in the flat. Just little things throughout this game here that I thought the Bears did very well. The Packers defensively, they still got question marks. The pass rush is still not there. In the secondary, still troublesome. So it's like hand in hand. The Packers, coming off of a bye week, that first drive, they went down the field first drive and they put it in the end zone. And I was like, oh yeah, here we go. Here's the route we're talking about. Like, here we go. Yeah, that stalled out. That stalled out fast. The Packers just, it's like they hit a wall. They didn't know what to do. I mean, they hit a wall. Matt LaFleur's play calling was kind of iffy in this game. Sometimes I think he gets ahead of himself. He's like, oh, let's draw up this little end around here on a 3rd and 2. And it's like, dude, just give it to Jacobs. Let him fall for 2 yards up the middle. Like, just do something simple. Pound the rock. Like, he gets some of the play calls a little wild with him. Jordan Love throws another interception on the goal line. That was a Jordan Love just airmailed Tucker Kraft by about 5 feet. And I honestly thought, there was an in-between there because Tucker Kraft was in front wide open. He had Watson over the top in the corner of the end zone. I didn't know where he was throwing that when he threw it because it was high of Kraft. I was like, did he just miss Watson? Like, where was he? he was going to Kraft. Like he was throwing to Kraft. He did confirm he was throwing to Kraft there. Just missed his target. I mean, it was you got to win these kinds of games, but at the same time, you can't bank on a blocked field goal at the end of the
Right.
game there to pull off a win against a team like the Bears who have been reeling for weeks. Now, I think the Bears got up for the rivalry too. I think they're kind of fired up coming into this one because they're like, it's the Packers. We don't like the Packers. We're going to get up for this game. You could tell on the defensive side for the Bears, they came to play today. I mean, I honestly, I don't like the Bears at all. I kind of liked what I saw out of them in this game. They were a little bit more impressive in this game than what they've been in the past. 3 for 5 in the red zone. That's pretty darn good if you ask me. But look at the Packers, 1 for 2 in the red zone in this one. I mean, the Bears got 7 penalties. Packers only with 3 penalties in this game, which is a cleanup of what we've been looking at with this Packers team in the past year. A lot of penalties. Bears, 7 of them in this game. I mean, did it hurt? A little bit, right? It's going to hurt a little bit to be, the more penalized team coming out of a game. I don't know. I mean, this Bears game made me nervous. I was going into it. I was like, this
Hmm.
Bears team is in shambles right now. Like, I'm glad we're picking them up at this time. And then I thought to myself, this is a bad time because what if the Bears figure it out this week? What if they just put it all out there in one game just because? It almost made it more nerve-wracking because they were struggling and they had no identity and they had a new offensive coordinator coming in this one. So you have, it's
Hmm.
easier for a defensive coordinator like Halfley to be able to prepare for an offense that you've seen through 9 weeks or whatever it is. Now you got a completely different, not a completely different system, but a different guy calling it. So different tendencies, different play calls in certain spots. It completely changes. So were the Packers at a little bit of a disadvantage in that, right? Maybe, but
Hmm.
I was not impressed by the way the Green Bay Packers came out today. And there's still a lot of question marks coming out of this. And Matt LaFleur did not help his own case because in his press conference, he said that the Bears did things better than what the Packers did. Play calling, getting guys ready, everything like that. How many more times are we going to hear that out of Matt LaFleur? When are you going to? I don't give, you know what? It's the big thing. Like, don't give props to Eberflus. Tell us that you stunk. You did this wrong. You did this wrong. You should have done this better. I mean, yes, you want to give credit where credit's due, but I don't want to hear week after week this coach or whatever it is outcoached me. I don't want to hear
Right.
that because that is not good, not sitting well with a lot of Packer fans at this moment.
Yeah, that's because like it's good to hear your coach like admit that they weren't necessarily at their best during that game. But yeah, like you said, you don't want to hear that too many times. It's okay if it's once in the season your team lacks that, I don't know, maybe the extra aggression or the ability to execute the game plan perfectly. But we'll see. We'll see if they just use this as just a refocus and they get back into playing much better, starting next week. I mean, for the Bears, they couldn't look. They could have gone into this game and got blown out, like a couple of other teams that I'll talk about in a second, because of all the inside information that we're getting with DJ Moore talking about players tuning out Eberflus, the offensive switch with the play calling. Like a lot of things could have gone wrong. They kept it close, but once again, they still can't get a win against Green Bay. And for Bears fans, it's just deja vu all over again. I I don't know. Maybe they would have been better off with a double doink because at
It would
least they
have
would have
felt
been
a
like,
lot better. It would have felt a
yeah.
lot. I mean, you outplayed Green Bay in just about every single facet that you can think
Hmm.
of. I mean, you look at, um, let's just look at here, third down efficiency. Packers were 1 for 5. Bears were 9 for 16 on the game there. Passing first downs. Bears had 12. They had more first downs, 23 first downs, 391 yards compared to the Packers 366. They outplayed Green Bay. They outplayed them. They just at the end of it could not find a. It was a Bears way. It was the Bears way to, I don't know, lose a game. I guess find a way to lose a game. Like, man, you almost feel bad for about 5 seconds. You almost feel bad because it's like you had it in the bag, and yet here we are. Here we are talking about the Packers pulling off this close win, and the Bears just they're in shambles right now. I mean, they're in shambles, and wow, I'm not impressed with the Packers though. Coming off a bye week, you're off a bye week, and this is
Yeah.
what you get. I did like seeing Jordan
Yep.
Love though. I mean, he was 13 for 17, not crazy numbers at all, I guess, one touchdown, but he looked healthy. He looked like he could move. He was running around. That's what you wanted to see if you're a Green Bay Packer fan. Was coming off that bye week. He looked good and healthy. Jair, though, I mean, he goes out after 10 plays. We got him in for 10 plays, and Jair's out already. So, I mean, man, oh man, we got sucky luck with him, and he's playing soft. I mean, honestly, I don't want to say that he's not hurt, but sometimes you just got to go through it. You got to play through it if you can. And I just feel like he's just pulling himself out at these points. And it sucks because the Packers secondary really needs help at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, and probably even the biggest stat that Bears fan would look at is time of possession. The Bears' own time of possession, and it still wasn't good enough. 36 minutes, basically 36 and a half minutes to 23 and a half. So the Bears are now 4-6. The Packers are 7-3. So they're hanging right there with the top of the NFC. But like I said, we're gonna do like quick bounce arounds because we kind of stay on here for like an hour, so we got plenty of games to get through. As I will say that the Bills just got a touchdown on the Chiefs, which was one of the big games of the week. So right now the Bills look like they might be in position to give Kansas City their first loss. But we can look at another one of the big games from this weekend. And oh no, because I said we're going to talk about some coaches who are on the hot seat. So Jacksonville, all the talk early in the day was that depending on what goes on with Detroit, Peterson could be gone, Balky could be gone. Like they're about to just sweep a broom through there. And they show up against a Detroit team that you especially know being in your division, but a lot of us think are probably the best team in football. They destroyed Jacksonville 52-6. I think it's safe to say, Peterson, when you get back to Jacksonville, head to your office, get that box, and just start packing up because clearly the team has tuned you out. They completely no-showed this, and I know that Detroit is good, but I mean, what does that say for Jacksonville? The fact that you know this noise is out there, and this is the performance you put out. Like I said, once again, Detroit is a good team. I get that, but Jacksonville, you got to show some fight.
You know, I want to look at it. I want to give benefit of the doubt somehow here. Mac Jones is starting at quarterback, right? And I think if Trevor Lawrence plays last week against the Vikings, the Jacksonville Jaguars actually win that game because Mac Jones could not figure out how to throw a football in that game. He was trying to throw picks at one point there. And I don't think that helps in a game like this. The Lions do this. And I mean, we heard Xavier McKinney speak out on it. He's like, they go out to embarrass teams. Like that's the Detroit Lions. They want to embarrass you on the football field. I want to like once the floodgates open, they were gone in this one. This was just your classic. Jaguars are not a good team right now, and they met the buzzsaw in the Detroit Lions, and that's just. I mean, Doug Peterson? I don't think he's the guy, but I mean, your defense doesn't really have playmakers on it. And we saw that they made some plays against the Vikings, but Sam Darnold was throwing just randomly in that game there. I mean, I don't know. It's Doug Peterson needs to be gone, but can you blame this all on Doug Peterson, or do you got to look back at, is it the coordinators? Is it, ownership? Is it the GM of this system who's putting guys like this on the field? Because at this point, I mean, you look at the receiver room for them. You have Brian Thomas Jr., but outside of that, what do you really have? You lost guys. Wasn't Gabe Davis down there at one point? You lost him. You lost a lot of pieces off that playoff team already. The defense has lost just about everybody. I mean, you look at the guys on this defense. Darnell Savage was a reject from the Packers. I mean, you look at all these guys on this roster here. I mean, roster construction's a big thing too. Now, the only reason I would say Doug Peterson, can he get him motivated, right? And that's where you're kind of alluding to with your question was, is he a guy who can get these guys motivated to go out and play a football game? And my answer to that is no. I don't think, looking at this score, looking at how fast it was over, I don't think the motivation was there for this football team. I think once the Detroit Lions started cooking, they were like, we're done. We're done. Like, this game's over. We're just going to throw it in. Now, it does kind of irritate me that the Lions love to do this. And I really do hope, I really do hope I don't know who could do it. I don't know. The Packers got to play them yet. I would be okay if somebody put this kind of shellacking on the Lions one time. Like that would make my day, because I get sick of listening to Amon-Ra St. Brown on his podcast tell me about how the Lions are this and the Lions are that. Like, I'd be okay if somebody put the shellacking on them every once in a while. But I mean, this is a good Detroit Lions team, and we saw it once again against an AFC South opponent that was inferior to them. They just put the shellacking on them, and that's what you get.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you give up 645 total yards, like somebody's got to answer for that. And like you
Yep.
said, roster construction is where Balky comes into the equation. That his job is on the line as a GM because of how poor the team looks. And like I said, look, Detroit was favored by 2 touchdowns. There's a reason for that. But you go out and lose by 46, like that's a big problem. So appreciate Una over on Twitch and Conan, what's up, over on Facebook. What's going on? Hey, I'm good. Patriots got a loss, but it's all good. Appreciate you for sharing it. Always do. So yeah, the Jags didn't really show up. The Bears, you gotta give them credit for playing well and having a chance to win. I feel like another team that has kind of been under the microscope a little bit, the Jets. And the Jets did about the most Jets thing they could do today. Start off slow, looking like they're going to get embarrassed. Find a way to come back in the game. Then it looks like, oh, they're going to steal a win. Tomorrow everybody's going to be like, oh, the Jets might be that team that makes a run, only for them to lose it in the end to a Colts team that is now find themselves at 5-6. Anthony Richardson started in this game and played not too bad. 20 for 30, 272. He had a touchdown pass. I believe he had 2 on the ground as well. So the Jets defense, once again, with a big spot, failed. And the Jets offense, I think Aaron Rodgers was 22 for 29, 184, 2 touchdowns. I feel like to most quarterbacks, those sound like good numbers. I think for Aaron Rodgers and what he has built over his career, I don't think that's good enough for this Jets team. So can we
No.
safely say 3-8, the Jets are just done? Can we stop holding out that glimmer of hope for them?
Yeah, I gave up a while ago with that glimmer of hope. But is it actually? Are they actually like? Are they out? Or are the
Well,
Colts still technically in
technically,
it? There's technically still in at this point here.
yeah, technically. Um, yeah, they are actually still in it because I think Denver won today, so Denver, I believe, is 6-5. I think Denver holds like the last playoff spot. Let me double check that. Okay, it has the Broncos at 5-5. For some reason, I thought they were 6-5. But you know, the Jets are they have a lot of teams to leap over if they're going to get in. The Bengals are ahead of them, the Dolphins are ahead of them, the Colts are ahead of them. And you look at the Jets and how much of a disaster they are. I just don't get it. I didn't
No.
get it before the season, all the hype surrounding the Jets. I feel like what they are is kind of who they are. A
How
team
much the
that,
defense went backwards.
yes,
I mean, you
that,
gave up
yeah,
on average 9 yards per pass to Anthony Richardson. It's a guy who 2 weeks. I mean, we heard last week that Joe Flacco was the guy. Now this week,
yeah.
Anthony Richardson's the guy. I mean, and now he comes out 20 for 30, 272. Doesn't even throw a pick, which surprised me, and a touchdown in this game. Who's got to answer to that? I mean, yeah, we fired Robert Saleh. That was going to fix it. Guess what? Robert Saleh is a defensive guy, huh? So
Mm-hmm,
maybe he had a little bit of an influence in there on that defensive side of the
mm-hmm.
football in these games. And now the defense all of a sudden is playing uninspired football up until this point. I wonder if it's in, those two things kind of coincide. I don't know. It's a big question. Yes, they do They do. This is the Aaron Rodgers effect. You bring him in, you basically let him be the GM of your football team, and this is what you get: is an epic collapse. I mean, this is just it sucks for Brees Hall. I hate to see it for Braylon Allen, a former Badger there. I hate to see it for him
Mhm.
on there. And Devontae Adams, dude, I know you wanted to team up with your boy again, but man, oh man, you could have picked you had a pick of anybody you basically wanted to go to. They would have said, we'll make a trade for you. And you chose this. You chose this disaster. You could have went to the Broncos and had better success. You could have went to the Bills. I mean, I don't know if the Bills would have been able to afford them, but you could have went to just about anybody. And you chose the New York Jets. Let's team up there in Rodgers. They got a shot yet? No, no, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
It was over about the second game you got there. It was over already. I mean, this is just, man, you almost feel bad for New York Jet fans. You almost feel bad for just a second. Just a second.
Mhm.
You almost feel bad, but then you're like, you guys signed up for this. You signed up for this guy. You thought he was the savior walking through the door. Guess what? He's not. He had one Super Bowl in Green Bay. He had a bunch of MVPs. Outside of that, look at his record in the playoffs. Look at his record. He gets there. Great. He gets there. He can't
Yeah.
even get you there, right? So honestly, if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, who had the better career, Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers? Brett Favre went to the Jets before he got banged up. What was he doing? He went to the Vikings after that. What did he do with Minnesota? He went to an NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers should have retired while he was ahead. He should have just retired a Green Bay Packer. That scene when he's walking off the field after the Lions game, wrapped his arm
Yeah.
around Randall Cobb, end it right there. Should have just
Mhm.
walked out, been done with it. You should have never went here because now your legacy is tarnished. It is tarnished. It looks bad now.
Yeah. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers, he'll
But he
get
didn't
hit
even play
up.
bad. I mean, he didn't play bad in this game. So, like, we can't completely shoot him for this game. 22 for 29, 2 touchdowns. Like, it's not a bad day at the office. Not at all. But, I mean, man, oh, man.
Yeah.
Uninspired defense, and you started this mess, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I mean, the 184 yards, like I said, you would think Rodgers could throw for more than that in a passing league like today. But another guy, Garrett Wilson, 4 catches, 18 yards. Like, come on. Like, Garrett Wilson is seen as a really good young wide receiver. For some reason, he just cannot be a consistent contributor with Aaron Rodgers. And look, 3-8. We'll see how dedicated Aaron Rodgers will be the rest of the season. We'll see if more of the Sauce Gardner stuff will come out because he had a soundbite this past week talking about coaches showing them tackling drills and he knows how to tackle and all this kind of stuff. Well, once again, the defense looked poor. But we'll keep it moving. We will keep it moving with.
We'll see Tyrod Taylor next week. Calling it now.
Why not?
Wait, they don't play next week. Next week's Thanksgiving, right? They don't play next week. They got a bye week. Then they got the Seahawks on the 1st of December. So they got the bye week, and then we see Tyrod Taylor coming out of the bye. Rodgers just completely quits.
Yeah, I would not doubt that at all. All right, so actually, Seattle just scored. Look like they might knock off the 49ers.
That's okay with me. That's okay with me.
But I mean, yes, I feel like all NFC fans are okay with the Niners struggling.
We got to see the 49ers next week, then Packers. I don't. Maybe I don't want them to lose this because otherwise they're coming into Green Bay a little pissed off.
What's going on, Derek Sasser? Appreciate you tuning in. Is this Rodgers' last year? What do you think?
No. There is too much money sitting on the table for Aaron Rodgers to retire. He's coming back. I guarantee it. He's coming back. One last hoorah with the boys. Devontae will be back. They'll bring in who the heck even knows is going to come in and coach this mess? Mike McCarthy.
There you go.
There it is. Mike McCarthy gets fired in Dallas, goes up to New York and coaches Aaron Rodgers one more time. They go to the Super Bowl. Bam.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers' ego will never allow this to be his last season. And the Jets will do the same thing next year. They'll roll out the red carpet for him. They'll treat him like a king, only to probably get more of this. So, yeah, there's no chance that this is his last year. John, what's going on? Come on, Seahawks. Well, looks like it may just come true there. John also said not his last year. He has 2 more years. He will milk this for everything that he can.
Yeah, but he
Uh,
could still walk away if he was smart. He could still walk away. He ain't gonna walk away, but he could be smart and walk away.
right. But yeah, so shout out to the Seahawks looking like they. This could be a
7
game that could
seconds.
turn around their season. Yes, got 7 seconds left. They did the kickoff. Unless the Niners go on some crazy.
I don't know. Brock
Um,
Purdy's got a cannon. It's over. Never mind. Had to wait for it to update there. It went fast.
right. I'm about to say, Scott Van Pelt likes to say, "Pitchy, pitchy, woo, woo," where you're just laddering all down the field. They could try that, but that's a big win for the Seahawks. The Seahawks season feels like they started off really well, hit a terrible patch, found themselves going from first to last in that division. Now you knock off the Niners, which would tighten up that division even more.
Yeah, they're both
Yeah,
5-5.
yeah, the NFC West is an interesting division.
Where does that
The
put them? The
Rams are five and
Cardinals are
five,
freaking
and the
six
Cardinals
and
are
four.
6-4. Yeah,
Wow. Everybody's 5-5 outside of the Cardinals because the Rams
yeah,
won.
yeah. It's an interesting division all of a sudden.
John, don't even get me started on the Green Bay game again. Come on now.
Yeah, John, we talked about that
Done
at
with
the
that.
top.
Can't
Yeah.
do it. Can't do it again.
Basically, it was yes, it was lackluster, but they get the win, and you move on. You burn the even in a win, you burn the tape. You start new next week.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at that NFC West, who do you like? What do you make of that division? Like, who do you think is the best team and is in the position to win that division with each team within a game of each other?
I'd have to look down the schedules there.
Okay.
Cardinals got what? The Seahawks, Vikings, Seahawks, Patriots, Panthers, Rams, 49ers left on that docket there. Let's see here. We got the 49ers. I know they got the Packers next week, the Bills, the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Lions, and the Cardinals yet on that schedule. I do like the Rams when they're healthy. I'll agree with that one. We got the Rams, who got the Eagles next week, the Saints, the Bills, the 49ers, the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. And then Seattle. Yeah, the 49ers, they just beat them. So they got Cardinals, Jets, Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, Bears, Rams. I don't know. That's everybody plays similar opponents down the stretch there. I would say the Cardinals. If they can give me more of the Jackal than the Hyde version of them, I would say the Cardinals. But I do, like John said there, I like the Rams when they're healthy. So I think it's going to be a duke it out between the Rams and the Cardinals for that top spot.
Okay. Kind of sounds like you might be pushing for Niners missing the playoffs.
If they don't, that means that either the Packers or the Vikings miss the playoffs. So if it takes the 49ers getting in for the Packers to get in, sure, I'll take it.
Okay.
But yeah, if there's one team that I would expect to miss, I'd say the 49ers. They just had too much. They got too much going on all at once. Too many guys getting hurt. You can't keep Debo healthy. You know, Juwan Jennings finally comes back. He's looking good again, but it just got too many guys who are missing time right now. Christian McCaffrey is back, so that's a big boost. But I don't know. That 49ers team just doesn't seem as the Lions took over what the 49ers were. The 49ers used to be that powerhouse. Now it's the Lions, and the 49ers are still good. Don't get me wrong. They're a good football team, but they're just not all that, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, the injuries and guys that they've lost, coaches that they've lost, it feels like it's all kind of catching up with them this year. Look, somebody who just watched the Rams like up close and personal play against the Patriots. Matt Stafford, when he's on with Puka and Cooper Kupp, like that offense is difficult. Like they are a tough team to. Is your YouTube down?
I can check.
I mean, I would hope it's not.
I'll check it out.
All right. But yeah, so like for the Rams, with Stafford and his ability to make some of the throws that he did today against good coverage and their play calling got some guys open. Yeah, they are going to be dangerous as they continue to keep themselves in that NFC West race. But I agree with you. I'm kind of rooting for the Cardinals.
No, the YouTube looks good. YouTube looks good
Okay.
on that backside there.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals odds in there, and if they, like I said, if they can give you more Jackal than Hyde, because they have those, there's a version of the Cardinals that you don't want to see if you're a Cardinals fan. So
Yes.
if they can give you more of
Yes.
one version, I like their chances. But if they give you that backside version, that's a team that anybody would want to play.
Yeah. And look, they have the king of Call of Duty at quarterback in Kyler Murray. Call of Duty's been out for a little bit now, and he's still playing well. I mean, maybe he's
Must not
getting
have been
maybe.
very good. Must not have been a very good version.
I mean, well, he's had the bye week. He's probably gone crazy all bye week, but maybe he can
Ah,
lock
there
back
you
in.
go.
And yeah, John has a question: is Dougie P getting the can in the morning? He might get it tonight. I don't think they wait.
I
Like
would have fired
after,
him before he even got back from London, but that's just me.
yeah, after that, after this game against Detroit, he has to go. There was already the report this morning that he and Trent Baalke were like being evaluated, and today was going to kind of determine their future. If they're serious about that, there's not a chance Peterson can come back. Jags need to because this is their bye week. Yeah. Oh, so Anthony said, asked on YouTube what you put. Oh, so maybe just the YouTube
Yeah, I haven't seen the
comment
YouTube
section.
comments come in.
Okay. Yeah, so there might be just an issue with YouTube's comment section, but appreciate you for tuning in on Facebook, Anthony, because I do know that you usually like to use the YouTube channel. But we can answer it now that you put it on Facebook. What's the input on the Ravens' last play when Lamar ran it, but Henry wasn't on the field? I, this is where Harbaugh, I just don't get it. And Todd Monken, he doesn't get, a pass for this. What did you bring Derrick Henry for? Would you bring him into Baltimore for if you're going for two and you decide to run a, I guess, QB sweep with Lamar, even though halfway it seemed like he was looking for a receiver when there wasn't a receiver on that side. So I don't know, did the receivers run the wrong route? Did Lamar go to the wrong side? But yeah, I agree. Not having Henry on the field for that play is criminal. It's the reason why I don't like the Ravens in the playoffs because they'll make little decisions like that, which cost them big games. And this is a big game against a Steelers team that, I mean, I've asked, like the question before about who's the best team in the AFC North. If you look at today, you would say it's the Steelers because the Steelers know who they are. Baltimore sometimes wants to just spread it out and air it out. Then other times they want to run the ball down your throat. But then some games they want to switch it up for no reason. Like they always seem to try to get too cute in certain situations, which I just don't understand. And that last play was prime example. I just don't get it. I don't get that last play at all. And
No,
that's why the Ravens are where they are.
no, it's exactly like I was talking about with Matt LaFleur earlier. Was the play calling where it's a little too fancy? Why are you getting so fancy? You have Derrick Henry, you have Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Let them go straight ahead. Don't do anything crazy. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just
Mm-hmm.
ground and pound. It's a simple game. It really is. But a lot of these coaches do like to overcomplicate it at times there. John, I've had enough of the Ducks talk already. All right. Enough of the Ducks talk. You came into Camp Randall against a subpar team and you put up 16 points. You suck. All right. You suck. Done with it.
Uh,
Done with
yeah,
it.
John also letting us know Bills TD
Your
30
TV is
21.
like 5 minutes ahead of me, John.
I mean, I guess because I'm like looking at a fourth down play right here.
Yeah, it's 4th and 2,
And then
John. What happened? Are you there? Are you in the
no,
building?
they went for it on 4th and 2, and Josh Allen on a scramble ran it in.
Oh, yep, here it is.
Yeah,
Okay, now we're caught up.
yeah.
His TV is just 14 minutes ahead of mine.
Always trying to
John,
make
you were missing 7 starters. Are you shitting me? There's 50 some guys on my team that wouldn't even start on Oregon. They wouldn't even make the team on Oregon. And you're going to tell me that, oh, we're missing 7 starters. So that's why. That's enough. Enough out of that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Number
you know,
one.
look.
You beat a dude in a guy in Braden Locke who wouldn't even start at quarterback for a junior college, and yet he's playing in Madison. Congratulations! Like, do you want a pat on the back? Like, a win is a win. Enough. We suck.
Yeah.
We stink. Like, Wisconsin stinks. I hope you know that. And their defense made Dylan Gabriel and your offense look like, I mean, just a subpar opponent.
They're saying they hit a nerve. I mean,
You hit
hey,
a nerve. You
look,
hit a
look.
nerve. Just like we hit Dylan Gabriel more than he's been hit all season long. Yeah, that's right. Our defense made your offense look like trash all game long. Dylan Gabriel for Heisman.
Well, I mean, that's probably,
Ohio State runs the Big Ten. Suck on it.
Oh, there you go. But, we'll get back into the NFL conversation. So I do have a question. Because looking at what, Anthony brought up, or sorry, was that John? But the last play, no, Anthony brought that one up. Pittsburgh beating Baltimore in Pittsburgh, obviously. If I were to sit here and ask you, top 5 teams in the NFL, because now we're kind of in that area where you get close to Thanksgiving, and Bill Belichick's thing was always you want to be playing your best football by Thanksgiving, because that's when you start switching to playoff mode. So sitting here about a week or so out from Thanksgiving, who would you say are the top 5 teams in the NFL right now?
Top 5 teams in the NFL. Number 1, I would say, the Chiefs should be right up there, but the Bills are about to knock them off, so that completely changes everyone's narrative on
that's
that.
Another big win for Buffalo.
All right, so we got the Lions. We'll call them number 1, even though I hate the Lions. We'll call them number 1 there, so we'll throw them up top. I don't trust the Vikings at all, so I'm not putting the Vikings in there. You would have the Steelers are in there. Dynamite defense. Russell Wilson's doing enough. Steelers are in there. The Bills, that's 3. The Chiefs, that's 4. It's a toss-up between the Eagles and the Ravens.
Okay.
Give me the Eagles. Give me the Eagles simply because their defense is a little bit the secondary. I trust the secondary for the Eagles more than I trust the secondary for the Ravens. So I think if you put them in that kind of spot, I would take. I'm taking the Eagles over the Ravens.
Okay. Because I do think the Eagles, Ravens, there's a couple of teams that are kind of in that category of, do you fully buy into them? They have some, blemishes that you don't necessarily like. But I think it's a good list. Oh, John gave us his list. So he has Steelers, Lions, Eagles, Bills, Chiefs.
Yeah, similar to mine.
Yeah.
I didn't rank mine in order. Mine's not in order, but it's the top 5 teams. You could pick where you want to put them. I don't know.
Right.
I would want to see Steelers versus the Lions. I would. I want to see that defense. I want to see the Lions defense.
That would be a fun game.
The Lions offense try to do what they've been doing against the Steelers defense. I would want to see that. Because if they do this crazy crap that they're doing right now against Steelers defense, like, you got a great offense. Like, congratulations. Like, your offense is overpowering everybody at this point. But, I mean, have they played a defense like that yet? I don't know. I was just going to go look at that once. The Lions, Rams, Buccaneers, no. Cardinals, no. Seahawks, no. Cowboys, definitely no. Vikings, Titans, no. Packers, no. Texans, no. Jaguars, no. No, they haven't played a defense like that yet.
Anthony had Lions, Bills, Steelers, Eagles, Chiefs. And then John had a reply. I guess Eagles over Washington, only issue. Do you trust Sirianni? I do think that's a big part of this. Where Sirianni, when things are going well, I think Sirianni's fine. But in a moment where they're reeling and they need some, need like a halftime pep talk or some adjustments to be made. I don't know if I trust Sirianni against some of the other coaches that you guys have mentioned in your top five. Like I wouldn't trust them over Andy Reid. I wouldn't trust them over Mike Tomlin. Wouldn't trust them over Dan Campbell. Bills with McDermott. Maybe there's a discussion there, but Sirianni may ultimately be the factor that could hold the Eagles back. I mean, he's gone from getting into it with fans to press conferences, bringing his kids up there to kind of shield blows from the media. Like this guy, I don't know. And he's on the hot seat. As good as the Eagles are, they're gonna question his job if he doesn't probably get them to the NFC title game at least. That's a lot of pressure to be under. But they are leading the division. They did get a big win against the Commanders, so I mean we'll kind of see how that turns out for them. Anthony says, John, chill out. Jaden Daniels was injured. That's why the Eagles won.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't agree with the 4th and 2 call with the go for it instead of kicking the field goal to take the lead late in that game by the Commanders. I thought that was a bad play call. Maybe the analytics were telling you one thing, but I would have kicked the field goal. You go up 13-12, you have the momentum back. Your defense has come back out in the field. The Eagles haven't done a lot against them all. I don't know. I would kick the field goal. I think that game you should have been up 13-12 at least, and then kick the ball back to the Eagles and force them to drive down the field and have to either kick a field goal or score a touchdown there. And then I don't know. I felt like that game could have gone differently if they kicked the field goal there.
I mean, that's definitely been a big kind of talking point all season, when to go for two, when not to go for two.
They got to throw analytics out the window. Just stop listening to the analytics and just go with, all of coaching, like old coaches, right? Gut feeling. We have a gut feeling. Like it's 4th and 2. We're on, their 40-yard line. Like it's late in the game. I have a gut feeling that my guys can get this first down. I don't want coaches to be like, ring, ring. What are you guys thinking up there? Okay. The analytics tell us this. Okay, let's go for it. I'm so sick of analytics sometimes. They show it on the screen, too. They're like 4th and 5. What does it tell us? Go for it. Like, I don't care. Just make the decision and just go.
Mm-hmm.
I hate analytics sometimes. I do.
Because, like, the old mentality was you don't chase points early. You always waited until late in the 4th. You had to go for two. That's when you do it. Now you have some coaches who will go for two very first possession of the game, trying to set a momentum or something like that. And I don't know. It's coach. My whole thing is I just want coaches to be like true to who they are. Like Dan Campbell, he took a lot of crap last year for going for it over and over. That's just who Dan Campbell is. And I would rather you fail being who you are than trying to be different in certain situations. So Dan Campbell, I'm fine with it. I do think Dan Campbell has kind of changed some teams' way of thinking where they go for it a little bit more aggressively than they normally would. As John said, wow, ref said that was a catch. No way.
And Patty Mahomes takes off for the first down. They called a flag. What was it on? Holding?
Yeah, they called holding on the Chiefs.
I can't believe it. The refs must have heard that they were throwing too many games towards the Chiefs, so now they're trying to throw it the other way real fast.
Right, because we know how social media loves pointing out how the refs work for the Chiefs. But let's see. Yeah, so I guess my top 5, because I didn't get mine. I would go Steelers. I think the Steelers right now, based off of what they did against Baltimore, you'd have to put them at number 1. Even though I would have loved to see the Steelers convert one of those drives into a touchdown, but they were able to get it done just kicking field goals. And side note, what's the deal with Justin Tucker?
I don't know.
He went from Mr. Automatic to now you're like gripping your seat trying to figure out if he's going to make them anymore. And I don't know. He had a rough day again as Mahomes throws a pick.
That's your ball game. Bills Mafia is
another issue.
The world.
Mahomes with these interceptions. This is not normal. Kelsey giving like the sarcastic clap to the crowd as they're walking off. But I mean, Buffalo kind of does this. They've won like 3 of the last 4 against Kansas City in the regular season. They just can't beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah, the playoff record really shoots him down.
Yeah. But yeah.
I
So
think Mahomes.
I,
I think Mahomes is 4-3 against Josh Allen, and 3 of those wins are in the playoffs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which probably says something, for this game. I mean, look, good for Bills Mafia. This is a game that they definitely wanted to have. And I will say, looking at the places in the AFC to go on the road and have to play, obviously Arrowhead is one of the toughest. Orchard Park for Buffalo is not an easy place to go and win. We know about. I wanted to say Heinz Field. I don't know if it's still Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. That's a tough place to play late in the year. And probably the one team that we haven't really mentioned because they didn't play this week, like the Texans, we don't know what necessarily Houston is a tough place to play. But I don't know. The AFC is shaping up to be really interesting because now with all the movement, you have the Chiefs will still be number 1 in the AFC at 9-1. You now the Steelers, I guess, yeah, the Steelers are 8-2. The Bills are now 8-2, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. So, and then the Texans at 6-4. The wild card is interesting. The Chargers are now the number 1 wild card team at 6-3. Ravens are the second wild card at 7-4. The Broncos, who destroyed the Falcons today, and I said on sideline to sideline, Falcons Broncos is going to be a sneaky game in the 4 o'clock window. It obviously didn't get the hype of Bills Chiefs. The Broncos are now 6-5, the final wild card team with the Colts 5-6 chasing behind them. I don't know, the AFC playoff picture is definitely really, really interesting. Anthony has a question. We know the Cowboys have no chance. If your season is done, why not start Trey Lance, or you don't believe in him? Which I think, Anthony, you asked this question on, I want to say, Passion and Precision yesterday. So I gave my answer, but I'll let Trajan take this one.
Your season is done. Why not start? I would have started him already. I would have started him over Cooper Rush to begin with. I don't know why teams go through Jerry Jones, because it's Jerry Jones. That's why. I'll give you that answer, because it's Jerry Jones. He felt like if Cooper goes in there, Cooper is going to give us a shot to win football games yet, and we still think that we have this realistic shot that we're going to make the playoffs and we're going to make things happen, and it just didn't work that way. I would have started Trey Lance. A smart GM or anybody would have started Trey Lance just to see what you have in Trey Lance. Because if Trey Lance goes out there and he balls out, guess what? Dak's job is kind of like, do we really? We paid him all this money, but do we really need him at this point? Could we find some lesser team to maybe take half the contract and take him to them? I mean, you could have worked different angles with it, but not knowing what you have in Trey Lance anymore, and now, I mean, we know Cooper Rush is Cooper Rush. I don't know what we wanted to learn there, honestly. And I don't know if Mike McCarthy was like, hey, I think we should start Trey Lance, see what we got. And then Jerry was like, no, why would we do that? Why? It's Jerry. That's why. Mm-hmm. The answer is simply it's Jerry Jones' organization. He runs the whole shit and works. And it's pointless. It's pointless. I know that they paid Dak already. I know they paid Dak already. I don't think they should have paid Dak already, but they paid Dak. But guess what? You got to know what you got out of Trey Lance, because otherwise, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of Trey Lance? He's just there. He's just a guy who's going to sit on the bench for the rest of his life. Or are we going to figure out what we have first and then ship him out? Maybe if he goes out there and he excels, maybe you can trade him, right? If he goes out there and he lights the world on fire, maybe the Carolina Panthers are like, hey, you got this quarterback in Trey Lance who looks pretty darn good in your organization right now. Could we just sneak him from you for a while? Maybe, the Browns or somebody else out there is like, hey, we'll take a shot on Trey Lance. We'll send you down a couple picks. They got no picks. They got no draft picks right now, the Dallas Cowboys. What are they supposed to do to build a future at this point except for to spend money out there? I mean, yes, I know you paid Dak, but you got to know what you have in Trey Lance. Otherwise, you're wasting his time, first off. And secondly, you're wasting away years of your franchise.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because yes, you paid Dak like you said. So if Dak's your starter going forward, could you find out if maybe Trey Lance is a better backup than Cooper Rush? Or, like you said, if you play Trey Lance and he goes crazy with the upcoming draft, if there's a team that needed a quarterback that maybe misses out on one of the top guys, maybe they do make that call to Dallas and go, hey, Trey Lance is still young. Like, what do you want for him? But if he just is there as some myth, having not going to see the field, he's not going to build any trade value for you.
No.
And you won't know if he's a better backup option than Cooper Rush. Because look, Dak seemingly gets hurt every year now. So your backup quarterback is going to be important in Dallas. So I agree. Look, at some point, they need to play Trey Lance. I mean, I wouldn't have mind if they did like what Pittsburgh did today. Russ started, and there were opportunities where they brought Justin Fields in and worked some plays with him. Start Trey Lance like that. And then if he does well with those plays, you give him a few more and then give him a starting shot. Like I don't get what Dallas is doing, but also like you said, that's for Jerry Jones to answer.
Yep.
And good thing is that Jerry Jones has like a radio show that he does. So maybe somebody asks him that and he will give you an answer because that's just Jerry Jones. I think he does it like on Monday, so there's a good chance he might talk about it tomorrow. I don't know. John says Dak will end up as a Colt and for Richardson in a draft pick. Yeah, go from Jerry
I gotta
Jones
be
to
honest
Jim
with you.
Irsay.
That would be a decent team. Dak's not a bad quarterback. Everybody gives Dak a lot of crap. He's not a bad quarterback. He can make
Right.
throws. We know he can. He's a decent enough quarterback.
Mhm.
Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor. Steichen hasn't done a terrible job, I guess, and the defense needs help. But if you get it through the draft, you get it through free agency. I mean, John's bringing up a hypothetical scenario that probably will never happen, but that would be okay with Dak. If I was Dak, I would jump on that. I'd be like, get me out of Dallas. Let me go to Indianapolis. The AFC South right now, if the Texans don't figure out their offensive line by next year, they're going to be a stink hole again. So, I mean, I would like that deal if I was Dak. The Colts have a decent team. They have a decent team. They could be better if they had a good quarterback.
Or if they play the Jets every week.
Or if they played the Jets every week. That would do it too. Everybody would be good if they played the Jets every week.
Yeah, exactly. John says, give me Bills versus Lions Super Bowl. 2 winner teams going down to Louisiana and playing in the Superdome. I mean, that's definitely a matchup that could happen. Obviously, the Bills would have to get past the Chiefs in the playoffs, a setting that they haven't really done so far, but it's possible. Anthony asks, what team could we see Daniel Jones playing for next year? Jeez, that's a tough one.
Is his contract done? Or is he still got time on his
I
contract with
think
the
they
Giants?
have an out after this season, where it wouldn't necessarily like kill their books. I think.
The Jacksonville Jaguars will pull him in as a backup quarterback. They got Mac Jones. They might as well bring in Daniel Jones.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to be starting anywhere next year.
No,
So
he's
if
going to be
he
a
does go
backup for
somewhere else,
somebody.
he'll be a backup somewhere.
Yeah.
How about LA with the Rams?
If
Back in the
anybody
map.
is going to figure him out, it's going to be Sean McVay. If anybody will figure him out, it'll be Sean McVay.
Yeah. So if you're Daniel Jones, maybe you push for that. Other than that, I don't see. Yeah,
Well,
because
they can't
any
get
other
rid of
team that probably
Stetson
needs it.
Bennett. They got Stetson Bennett out there already. You can't get rid of him.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett can run scout team. John brings up the Raiders.
The
since
Raiders.
Minshew is done after this year.
You go for one poverty franchise to another at this point. Are you really
I
winning
did.
it for Daniel Jones?
If you're Antonio Pierce, you're like, yeah, I think I'm good on that. I don't need Daniel Jones after Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. Plus, Oakland is on pace for a high draft pick. So, and I do think, even though they are Vegas, but we've already heard about Dion talking about certain places his kids won't play. I have a feeling Dion's not going to care if Shador goes to Vegas because Dion would
I'm
love
avoiding
to watch
Shador.
Vegas.
I'm avoiding him. I would. If I was an organization, I avoid
Hmm.
that mess. You bring on such a freaking headache with him. Oh my Gandhi. You're bringing on all the money. You're bringing on Dion. You're bringing on this whole crap load of. I wouldn't even deal with it. That's what I think is going to drive his draft stock down. Is that is the annoyance of having outside noise all the time. Like I thought Caleb Williams was bad. Like, he's kind of a diva kind of guy and he's got all this outside crap. I thought he was going to be bad. This is going to top that. This is going to be, oh my God, I wouldn't even be able to deal with it. I'd kick him to the curb.
Well, I mean, one thing that will probably help Shadur obviously is the hype behind this Colorado season. They're a team that could potentially make the playoff, and we already know if they make the playoff, like the Shadur hype will go through the roof. I mean, if you're Vegas, if the team isn't great, the appeal of Shadur Sanders will, bring people to the games and stuff like that. And we know some of these franchises care about that if the team isn't good. So he might be a fit there. I don't know. Because, yeah, I don't know. Because, like you said, a lot of these prospects that have kind of the headache that goes along with them, it usually, not all the time, it doesn't work at the next level. I mean, you look at the Ball brothers with the NBA. I mean, Lonzo's had injury issues, but like LaMelo hasn't really done much. He's in a losing situation, but he hasn't really lived up to that hype necessarily in terms of winning games. You have the Mannings, who I feel like everybody's now trying to be like Eli and Peyton, but even with those two, you know, yeah, a lot of this hype stuff. I don't know. Maybe he turns out to be a really good NFL quarterback. I'm like you. I'm on the fence with him.
I gotta be honest with you. I am about as high. I don't the quarterback class coming in. So I was looking on PFF. I was looking
Mm-hmm.
at their big board for 25, and then I had to go to quarterbacks. And Milroe's the top ranked one. I don't like. I'm not a fan of Jalen Milroe. Like I don't trust him. I don't trust Milroe. Cam Ward. I do like Cam Ward. I think he's got a big time ability. I don't trust Sanders. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. I don't trust him as far as I
Mm-hmm.
can throw him, and he's a pretty big boy there. Drew Aller, I don't trust him. Carson Beck throws
Mm-hmm.
too many interceptions. Quinn
Mm-hmm.
Ewers is, I mean, hit or miss day of, but like this season he hasn't looked that great. I mean, you look at what do we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The eighth rate guy of quarterbacks coming in, Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt. Yeah, that tells you how far we're going down the totem pole for this one. I think that Curtis Rorick from Indiana, they have him currently ranked at 149 in the PFF rankings right now for the draft big board. I'll be honest with you, he leads Indiana down a little stretch here into the college football playoff. They beat Ohio State or something crazy, and they get into that
His
college
stock will
football playoff.
rise.
I
Yeah.
could see his stock rising a lot. Kyle McCord is not good. Come on. Did you watch that Syracuse game where he threw 5 interceptions? Come on now. Come on now. Here he is, Kyle McCord, 171. Jackson Dart is the 173 overall ranked prospect. Cade Klubnik surprises me. That one
Mm-hmm.
surprises me because if you look at his numbers for this year, I believe he only has like 4 interceptions and he has like 20 plus touchdowns on the season. He's been impressive, and he's this far down in the rankings. I mean, he's right above Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz has barely played.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he hasn't played. He's been hurt. He's been hurt there. There ain't a lot of good quarterbacks. Let's just settle on that. There ain't a lot of good quarterbacks. We got DJ Uyunglele makes the list there from Florida State. He lost the starting job. He lost the starting job.
That guy
That's how
is
bad he
so
is.
bad.
Yes, he is. Yes, I mean to think of where he was at one point with Clemson, and everybody was like, they switched from Trevor Lawrence to him, and it's like, oh my gosh, here we go. DJ is going to be the guy, and how fast that fell off.
Yeah.
Will Howard.
But
Let me see if I can find Will Howard for you. Holy Gandhi, they really go down on this list, brother. No, he's not even on my list.
oh,
What year is Will Howard right now? I wonder. Let's see.
Anthony
Here.
likes the tight end from Penn State.
Warren's is a dog. I like Warren's. he could be a very underrated guy going in. Yeah, Will Howard's a senior, but they don't rank him up on the PFF rankings here. They do not like Will Howard, I guess. I mean, they got
Right.
Miller Moss on here. He doesn't rank well in the PFF system, I guess.
Which I mean, hey, maybe he'll be the one to break the mold. But I do
Yeah.
think it's
I mean, he's
good
had a
that you
good
brought
year.
up. I think it's good that you brought up like rookie classes because I was going to ask this. Could we have been wrong about the current rookie class at quarterback? Because I feel like going into this past draft, a lot of people looked at this class and was like, you got Caleb Williams, you got Jaden Daniels, and after that, eh. But now looking at them, Jaden Daniels has played really well. Drake May's done well since he's gotten the starting job. Bo Nix is playing. I mean, he's winning games in Denver. Obviously, Jaden McCarthy got hurt, so we don't know. But I think in 5 years, when we look at this rookie class of quarterbacks and say that they're a little better than people wanted to give them credit for.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think there's a lot of talent that came out of there. A lot of talent. I mean, you look at the Packers. I know we're talking about quarterbacks not in early rounds, but Evan Williams, star safety for the Packers, he was a seventh round guy. I mean, a seventh round guy who's producing right now at a high level. So this draft was pretty darn good there. Who's better, Warrens or Ferguson? I've seen them both. Trust me, I've seen them both. A lot of both of them there. I would take Warrens. I'll be honest with you. I would take Warrens. I like his versatility more than I like. Ferguson's got a ton of versatility. Don't get me wrong. Like, this guy could do a lot. But I like Warrens. For some reason, I look at him and I'm like, this dude does it all. And you see it with Penn State. Ferguson, he does his due diligence. I'm not going to say he's a bad tight end by any means. He's a fantastic tight end. But I would take Warrens over Ferguson.
Anthony has something here. Washington said that Jaden Daniels and Drake May were way better than Caleb Williams. And I guess judging these three quarterbacks so far, is it safe to say that Caleb Williams is the worst of the three?
No, I haven't seen enough out of Drake May. I haven't seen
Okay.
enough out of Drake May to so solidly say, like, this is that guy, right? And I think part of Caleb Williams' problem too is look at this coaching revolving door that we got going on in Chicago. How can you establish yourself as a good NFL quarterback if you're a rookie coming in and your offensive coordinator stinks and he gets fired, and now your coach is on the hot seat too, so he's going to be gone. Your locker room's quitting on your head coach, so your star wide receivers are just walking off the field. I mean, how are you supposed to compete in that? How are you supposed to develop in a system where it's a disaster? It doesn't work out. I really do think that, teams have to find a coach first. You have to have a coach that you expect to be there for 3 to 5 years. Once you find that, then you bring a quarterback in. Because if you're just going to keep having this revolving door, we'll find this guy. This next guy is going to be the guy. This next guy will be the guy. How long are you going to keep doing that? How long are you keep this revolving door open where, Caleb Williams is flipping through coaches like it's nothing else? And what's he supposed to do, right? You can't settle into a system if the system ain't there. So, I mean, I want to hate on Caleb Williams because I hate the Bears, and I find it funny what's happening down there in Chicago. But I can't solidly say that, what I saw today was a game management kind of quarterback that I think could win football games. What I saw before that was terrible offense. So, I mean, Jane Daniels has performed the best out of all of them, but I can't solidly say that Caleb Williams is the worst out of that group yet.
So I think a pushback could be so Caleb Williams plays for a defensive minded head coach. Well, so does Drake May and so does Jaden Daniels. If you want to talk about Caleb Williams' offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, was given a lot of credit for what he did for Geno Smith. And if you lined up Shane Waldron, Alex Van Pelt, and Cliff Kingsbury, because of his head coaching job with Arizona, was seen as kind of a failure in the NFL. And this was his way of getting back into trying to reestablish himself. I think most people would look at the three and say Caleb Williams has the better of the three. You look at the weapons around them. Jaden Daniels has Terry McLaurin, yes. But then outside of that, questions. Drake May, we already know Patriots wide receivers have talked about as one of the worst groups in the league. Caleb Williams had Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze, who they drafted out of the Washington system, which was seen as a fun offense. So you could argue that out of the three, Caleb Williams was set for success better than the other two, yet he's had the least successful season so far. As we bring in Jory, what's going on?
It's been a rough day.
It's all good. Well, look, we're here for a few more moments. We're talking some NFL. Love to get your thoughts on Anthony's comment here, because he said, like, Washington said that Jaden Daniels and Drake May were way better than Caleb Williams. And I asked Trajan, like, looking at the three of them so far, could we say that Caleb Williams has been the worst of the three?
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that the first little win streak or whatnot, he played well. But even before the Hail Mary L that completely broke this team, he was starting to show signs of regression. So as of right now, considering that with Drake May, you see gradual improvement, game in and game out, and Jaden Daniels, we already know. I ain't got to really speak too much about that one. Yeah, as of right now, yeah, both of them look better than Caleb Williams.
I mean, I feel like yes, judging them off of how it's gone so far, yeah. And maybe, like you said, Trajan, we will look back at the end of the season and look at the situation that Caleb Williams went to in Chicago, where a lot of people thought when he was drafted there, it was the perfect situation for a rookie quarterback. Maybe by the end of the season, we'll look back and say that maybe that narrative was a little bit out there. Because, I mean, like Jory said, and as we've said, it seems like Washington game completely flipped that team on its head, and they don't know what direction they're going in anymore. It's kind of sad that it took just one game against Washington to do that, but since then, it's been a bit of a sliding scale for them. Although today they did play, they were competitive against the Packers. So
Matt Eberflus couldn't galvanize a grape, much less a team.
So Anthony's having another question. I mean, look, if anything else that you guys remember this episode for, there's the line of the episode right there. So Anthony asked, if you had to draft a fresh new start, who would you pick, Caleb Williams or Anthony Richardson?
That's not a question. That's
not a question. I'm not
Caleb Williams. No, Caleb Williams. Anthony Richardson is a glorified wide receiver trying to play quarterback at this point. He went 20 for 30 today. Like, the Jets are crap.
And the fact that the Jets made him look like Patrick Mahomes really made me upset, because I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Hey.
Because he stinks.
He does. He's bad. He is bad.
I just love the fact that now on Aaron Rodgers' ledger, you can add Anthony Richardson to quarterbacks that he's gone up against and lost to and had better statistics on that day. So you could throw Drake May in there, Bo Nix, Anthony Richardson. If you're a Jets fan and I told you that was going to happen by the time we got to week 12, they probably would have laughed at me. But it has happened. It's played out. And trust me, he's going to lose to a couple more as the season goes on. Like, don't get it twisted. They are sinking fast, and we know Aaron Rodgers is not a locker room leader.
Oh, yeah, he's starting to check out now. Every time you look at him, he looks more defeated, more salty, more look like he don't want to be there. I know that look from anywhere.
I'm sure his appearance on Pat McAfee this week will be pretty interesting. Jono says, just got to see how they do next year. Daniels might be the next Stroud. Great first season, second year, some issues. Because we did touch on the Texans like briefly, only because they didn't play, but they are a team that, look, I was one of those who thought the Texans could be a legit player in the AFC. Mm-mm. So far, I'd have to say no, because I could not see them going into Pittsburgh and beating that team. I couldn't see them going into Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs. I couldn't see them going up to Orchard Park and beating the Bills. Like, I think the Texans are just kind of be Like they'll probably make the playoffs, but you're not going to give them a real shot. And
they win the division by default because the division stinks.
That's yeah. I mean, somebody has to win the division.
Don't ask me about my team right now because I'm mourning. I had a little bit of hope, and then
I picked them to win
with referees and stupid ass penalties.
Look,
and crushed it.
Jory, you and I are in the same boat. We have teams that it's all vibes. Every Sunday, it's just for vibes. We're just watching, hoping that like our teams don't embarrass themselves. That's what we're watching for. Trajan over here, Packers fans, actually thinking about playoffs and maybe Super Bowl. We're not doing that. We're just hoping that
we almost lost to the Bears. The Bears took us to the ringer. Like they all played us all day.
We could have won that game.
Okay.
I picked them to win. I had Titans over Vikings.
We could have won
just
that
because
game.
Sam Darnold is not all that.
Right.
We could have won that game. There was a strip sack fumble recovery that was taken back by a stupid penalty. There was a touchdown that was nullified by a stupid penalty.
Yeah.
The refs were being cheeks. And calling stuff that you never would call.
That roughing call in the end zone was brutal against the Titans.
Made me so mad.
Because it was literally just a shoulder into the chest, and they called it as.
That was a clean hit. What are you talking about?
It was as clean as a hit as you'll get in 2024, and they threw a flag on it like that. Yes, that was a brutal call there. But
2 weeks in a row.
Yes. Now, Jory, since you are here and you are a resident Ravens hater like myself, the question was asked earlier. Actually, let me find it so I can quote it correctly about the final play in the game with Baltimore, and how come Derrick Henry wasn't on the field? I know.
Ask the two geniuses that continuously mess up games. Ask them that. Between Monken and Harbaugh, they always do this. Harbaugh has done this through the decades. I can pull it up. I can really pull it through memory.
Yeah.
Like, you needed that 2 points so you can go get an onside kick and then maybe kick a game-winning field goal. You needed them 2 points. Instead of putting your eye back in the I formation, mind you, Derrick Henry with 2-point conversions, you don't just have to run it. He can throw it. You can confuse the defense by him throwing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you don't take advantage of that aspect at that time to put out some prissy 2-point conversion thing that failed. They didn't deserve that.
Because John, yeah.
I said they didn't deserve that 2 points with that little stupid play call. Because what the hell was that?
Hey, you're putting the ball in the hands of your 2-time MVP. Why not? I said,
and Justin Tucker,
who was not playing at an MVP level.
Because I didn't
Somebody
understand.
Explain to me Justin Tucker at this point, because we missed 2.
Washed.
I guess it was my guy.
Look, and I made the analogy on Discord during the game, like when it goes wrong for kickers, it gets ugly real quick. And I compared it to like a golfer. If you've played golf, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm some golfer. I've been to a driving range a time or two. But with golfers, like, they'll hit it straight one day. The one day they'll go on the course and they'll start hooking it or slicing it. And then that becomes the end of their game, because then you just overthink it and everything like that. And maybe that's where Justin Tucker is right now. He's going up, lining up for kicks, and it's in the back of his mind that he's missed some already this year. But yeah, this comment that we just talked about, reminding you of Pete Carroll. I think that's a good analogy. I mean, you could look at like Marty Schottenheimer, coaches like that, of coaches who.
So are they going to force him out like they did Pete Carroll?
No.
I mean, probably. I have the worry that with the AFC North teams, they don't like change like that. It'd have to be like Harbaugh coming out and being like, "I want to go." I feel like they will make him a lifer if they could.
Well, he's the problem.
They've been relevant for Baltimore. That seems like good enough.
He is the problem, and until they get that out the way, they will continue to get out of their own. They will continue to fail to get out of their own way, be undisciplined. Roquan Smith, what was that today? All of that.
I mean, that's kind of Baltimore. If they're not winning,
and it's usually him.
If they're not winning by a good margin, they like to get chippy and stuff like that. That's Baltimore, whatever.
And then for him to get in the press conference and talk like he's the rock of that team and like he's somebody, I'm like, you are struggling. I'm gonna need you to be quiet.
So
Ravens fans don't want to admit that, but
exactly.
You're not playing that well.
Trajan, I know you got to go here in a minute. So here's a question for you on your way out the door because, wait, that's the wrong one. This one. Get your thoughts on this from
I watched it.
About football. What'd you think about the boxing fight on Friday?
I watched it on Antonio Brown's Twitter. There were like 8.7 million people that watched on Antonio Brown's Twitter. He was at the fight and he was streaming it, live streaming it. That's where I watched it from. So I didn't want to get Netflix or pay for it to watch it. So I was like, I wasn't even going to watch it at all. The Badgers had just won men's basketball. I was scrolling through Twitter and all of a sudden I was like, oh, Antonio Brown's live. And I clicked it and I'm like, oh, it's the fight. Okay. I'll just lay here and watch it. So I watched it on there. I mean, you talk about staged crap. That was the most staged fight I've ever seen. Like if Jake Paul, you saw Mike Tyson was old in that match. He got tired fast. Jake Paul was like just letting him survive. And then it went 8 rounds. And you knew it was going to go 8 rounds. You knew that's what was going to happen. And it was decided by points. Like it was thrown. We know it. Everybody knows it. You can't sit there and say it wasn't. I mean, it was a publicity stunt. That's all it is nowadays. A lot of these big time boxing matches like this, publicity stunts.
And that's why I don't watch them.
Yeah,
I watch Rocky. Real stuff.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest boxing fan as much anymore. But yeah, so I guess one last thing before you do go. Who do you have winning Sunday Night Football tonight? Bengals or Chargers?
I already won fantasy for the week, so I really don't need Jamar Chase to do anything. So Bengals, Chargers. Give me the Bengals. Give me the Bengals. They'll find a way. I do agree, though, with Anthony and John there. I mean, you watch the training videos from Mike Tyson, and this dude was like, he looked hot. Like, he looked like he was in his prime. And then all of a sudden he came out, and that was like, I don't know if he was on like rabies or what it was when he was coming into those those training matches, but like, holy crap, it was 2 different guys.
Yeah.
I will agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, hey, he's almost 60. He was out there bobbing and weaving.
Maybe he let Jake Paul survive. Maybe it's a plot twist. Maybe he wanted Jake Paul to win.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Who knows?
Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't watch boxing, all right? If I want to watch boxing, I turn on Rocky.
It was just weird all around because even after the fight,
or Creed,
yes.
Creed, yes.
Because like after the fight, Jake Paul's like, "Oh, I respect Mike so much," and everything. In like 8th round, it's like 30 seconds left. He's putting his arms behind his back. He's bowing to him. Like it was just odd.
Yes,
that's all it was.
And like they spent more time at the outer half of the ring than they spent actually hitting each other. Like that was,
yeah.
I don't know.
So you're telling me I didn't miss much? See, look, and I have Netflix for free, so I could have watched.
You could have watched that Antonio Brown's thing. At one point, I think Netflix tried to shut him down because it started buffering for about 3 minutes. All the people in the comment section are like, Netflix noticed you got more viewers on here. They're trying to shut you down. Then all you hear is Antonio Brown. Nope, got it. He's back on.
Oh, man. It happened. That's all you can say.
It happened.
Yeah, I mean, Trajan, you got to run.
Yes, sir.
It's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So everybody, make sure you check out Wisconsin Sports on the Go. Get some more content with Trajan. You'll definitely enjoy it. You know, he
We got to
talks a
go
lot of.
yell about the Packers and Badgers and a whole lot of stuff here tonight yet. So this was priming me up for that. Some good talk before
Well,
that.
yeah, absolutely. So we'll
All right,
definitely
see ya.
see you, Trajan. All right, so it's just you and me, Jory. There we go. I was about to see if I was going to switch back. So I guess to continue the Ravens conversation, Anthony said, "What has the Ravens coach done really? Been to the playoffs every year just to lose." Yeah.
To ask that to Raven fans, ask that to the Feather Braves. They act like he's not the problem. Yes, he is the problem. Y'all haven't been to a Super Bowl in 12 years.
So let's take it a step further. I guess for you, Anthony, myself, in order for this season to be successful for Harbaugh, would another AFC title game appearance be enough, or does he absolutely need to make the Super Bowl this year?
He absolutely needs to. Because you made the AFC title game last year. If you don't do it this year, if they flame out in the wild card round, for whatever reason, they're definitely going to be looking at him funny. I think that'd be hilarious if the Ravens did that.
Oddly enough, if you looked at the playoff matchups right now, the Ravens would be traveling to Pittsburgh in the wild card round if the playoffs were to start like tomorrow. I don't know if that's the best place.
But it was too early to bring up fumbles and mistakes. It was too early for that. But now, is it too early for playoff talk and saying that you would have to travel to Pittsburgh, knowing that you just lost in Pittsburgh? Is it too early for that?
I mean, look, if you're Baltimore, if you can get up to the 5 seed and get Houston in the first round, maybe you take your shot there. But I think the Steelers showed today that if you had to go back on the road, wild card round, back into Pittsburgh to beat that team, you probably should not be a favorite in any way. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be tough for them.
Let's talk about Lamar missing his throws.
I did read out the wild card kind of races in the AFC. We'll look at the NFC, but I guess just to give you the updated, because every early game is now over. So once again, I got the Chiefs at 9-1. Bills get the big win. They're now 9-2. Steelers are 8-2. Texans at 6-4. Your wild card teams. Look, Harbaugh and those Chargers are the first wild card team at 6-3. The Ravens are the 6th seed at 7-4. And Bo Nix and the Broncos get a big win against the Falcons. They are now 6-5, are the 7th seed, with the Colts the first team out at 5-6. And those Dolphins that everybody's believing in at 4-6 are right behind them. In the NFC, we have the Lions at 9-1, Eagles are 8-2, the Cardinals are 6-4, the Falcons at 6-5. The wild card teams are the Vikings at 8-2, the first wild card, 6th seed of the Packers at 7-3. And the Commanders, no longer leading the NFC East, are now the 7th seed at 7-4. The first team out basically is the NFC West. The Rams, Niners, and Seahawks are all 5-5, trying to chase down the Commanders. So that's kind of where we are in terms of the playoffs right now. Because, I mean, I was talking to Trajan, and I said, like, this is kind of the time period where you start looking at the playoffs, because Bill Belichick's been famous for saying, you want to be playing your best football by Thanksgiving, because you kind of get into playoff mode by then. Make sure I didn't miss any. Enough. Oh, okay, so Anthony, I guess to continue, Baltimore, you got a 2-time MVP, and he's not doing nothing in the playoffs too. Also fair.
Don't tell Ravens fans that. I tell people, oh my God, you are reading my mind, Anthony. The 49ers ain't going to no Super Bowl. They're done. Because they didn't anticipate
go ahead.
Washington getting out to this type of start.
Right.
They probably thought Washington was going to stink.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of other people's gonna stink.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that they were just gonna be able to flip a switch.
Yeah.
It might be a little too late for that.
Yeah, especially when you look at Washington's remaining schedule. They have the Cowboys coming up. Okay. They have your Titans. Then they have their bye week. They have the Saints, then the Eagles, then the Falcons, then the Cowboys. So they're 7-4 right now. They have 6 games left. Out of those 6 games, they probably only have to win 3. Like if they get to 10 wins, the Rams, the Niners, and the Seahawks, their only way in is probably going to be the division with the Cardinals, who are up a game on them. So yeah, if you're the Niners, you're probably hoping to just catch Arizona. I don't know if you're going to catch Arizona. I mean, catch Washington based off of that remaining schedule.
Like their opportunities is fried. Yeah. Losing Christian McCaffrey for about 9 to 10 games for half the season hurt.
Yeah, so Anthony, I know you're a Commanders fan. Like all you got to do is split with the Cowboys, take care of business against the Saints.
Or just sweep them.
I mean, they could very well sweep because the Cowboys are a mess for sure. Definitely take the first game against the Cowboys because that's the one in Washington. Final week of the season in Dallas. Dallas will probably have vacation plans by then. And maybe it's a game Washington needs or not. But, yeah, I think they have a good chance of sweeping the Cowboys. So if you sweep the Cowboys, you just need one more win between the Titans, Saints, Eagles, Falcons weeks. And Washington will be a playoff team. I'll try to see.
And since we're talking about Lamar,
what
was that performance today? What was that?
Actually, let me bring up the numbers.
Misthrow.
Let's bring up the numbers to give the people the full effect.
Drop pass.
Lamar was 16 of 33, so under 50%. Okay. 207, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He did have 4 rushes for 46 yards. Grade his day. Oh, hold on, say it again. For some reason the audio didn't come through on that. I don't know. Yes.
You hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear what your grade was. Sorry.
I give you a flat out D minus.
I mean, John grading on the curve here, like, C minus.
You're nice. Because from what I saw for majority of the game, not including the fourth quarter, was atrocious and inconsistent.
Mm-hmm. Look at some more of these numbers.
Cincinnati.
Yeah. Although Isaiah Likely had a pulse today. He had 4 catches. Seems like it's been a couple of weeks since he's done something.
Right. He's still finna get kicked off my fantasy team.
Yeah. I mean, look, conversely, Russell Wilson, 23 for 36, 205. No touchdowns and an interception. Not necessarily a great Russell Wilson day, but it was good enough for them to get the win.
Yeah, it was good enough.
So, John.
And knowing what type of game that was.
John's asking how many of those were drop balls.
We're not going to sit here and blame drop balls on the receivers. There were bad throws. Most of them were bad throws.
I can name the 2 biggest ones.
Now, one of them.
The Deontay Johnson one down the left sideline should have been a touchdown. Lamar threw it too far out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was like the very next play, Pittsburgh blitzed again. He had Zay Flowers on the outside on a 1-on-1, and he threw it too close to the boundary, and Zay couldn't find the ball. I think those 2 throws, if you'd ask Lamar, he'd want to have back.
There's a couple of other ones.
Well, I'm just saying, like in that situation when they were driving down, those 2 throws are ones he would love to have back.
But there were plenty of other ones. We're not going to sit here and blame the receivers on everything, especially when he continues to show this. When you apply pressure, Cincinnati had the locks on him for about 3 3.5 quarters.
Those 2 games now.
And then they just decided they wanted to quit.
Yeah, because imagine if the Bengals had taken care of business in both of those games, you'd be looking at a 5-6 Ravens team right now. And I feel like the narrative would be much different around that team. But they're 7-4, so they're still, I guess there's still aspirations in Baltimore.
But let that what we saw for 3 quarters tonight and for 3.5 quarters versus Cincinnati keep up. Let that keep up.
Yeah, they do have some.
It's going to catch
tough
up.
games remaining too. They have
especially when they can stop the run, like Pittsburgh did.
Yep. They have the Chargers next Monday. They have the Eagles following that. Then they get their bye week. Coming out of the bye, you get the Giants, whatever. But you have your second matchup against the Steelers. You have the Texans week 17. I mean, we'll have to see what the Texans look like by then. And then you end with the Browns. They might just very well be a wild card team this year. Anthony says, this is why I said Josh Allen MVP. That's another thing. Up until, I guess, this Pittsburgh game, everybody was assuming that Lamar was going to just win his 3rd MVP, which was kind of disrespectful to Josh Allen and what he's done this year. I know Jared Goff has the 5-interception game, which I don't know. I don't know how people still feel about him, but you got to give him credit for Detroit's season. Obviously, Mahomes should not be a factor in MVP this year with the interceptions he's thrown, but I think it was kind of disingenuous to just assume Lamar had his 3rd MVP in the bag. But I mean, would you agree with Anthony that Josh Allen should be the front runner for MVP at this moment?
Yes, because I'm sick and tired of Lamar winning an MVP and he can't win a Super Bowl.
I mean, yeah.
Winning the playoffs. Even though the same thing could be said about
True.
Josh Allen. Josh Allen ain't got no MVPs.
Right. So I think people would be fine if he got one. I mean, look, Lamar could very well be like Jokic in the NBA, where he's won a couple of MVPs and people are kind of tired of him winning MVP. Only problem is Jokic has a title, and Lamar can't even make the Super Bowl. So, yeah, they better not give him a 3rd one this year. And especially if it's a year that they don't win the Super Bowl, or if they lose first game of the playoffs and he wins MVP, if I were a Ravens fan, I'd have a problem with that. Because at that point, he'd have more MVPs than playoff victories. That's ridiculous to me.
And I hope they do. I hope they do lose in a wild card.
I mean, if they have to go to Pittsburgh on a wild card weekend, I'm not picking Baltimore to win that one. John says, don't sleep on Saquon for a finalist. Yeah, but we know they always give it to a quarterback. I mean, to be a running back and win MVP, you have to have a crazy statistics season.
Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards and didn't get a vote.
Like,
what does that tell you about how they feel about that?
Like Saquon will probably have a better chance for like offensive player of the year because they love to give that award to running backs and wide receivers. MVP, it's basically just quarterbacks. Trying to see, was there anything else? Or I think I want to cycle back to because we did talk Jets earlier. Wait, go ahead.
I know. I expect by the time I wake up in the morning to see a notification on ESPN that Doug Peterson has.
That's what I was going to go back to because somebody did bring that up in the chat of whether or not Peterson gets fired tomorrow. My thing was he probably gets fired tonight. Like it'll probably be like some random time, like 11:30 tonight. You might see breaking news. He was fired.
The Jags are the type of they operate like that.
Because
think about how they fired Urban Meyer. We woke up at 7:00. Didn't we wait? I feel like that was early in the morning or somewhere late at night.
I think it was early in the morning. Yeah. Yeah. So expect the Peterson news to
where nobody was up
to slip in either really late tonight or very early in the morning. I don't think there's a chance he gets through tomorrow as still the head coach. Yeah.
Absolutely not. They quit. They didn't even show up.
questions about your job and your team loses 52-6. Yeah. And I do like that the GM was brought in on it as well. I think too many times teams love to just fire the coach. Hey, the coach is dealing with what the GM gives them. So you might as well fire the GM too. And it seems like that's what they're going to do. Just clean out house and start new, get a new GM, let that GM pick their coach. At least that's how smart teams do it.
I think it's ironic because I said that last night
Mm-hmm.
that the Detroit Lions were going to Dan Campbell the Jaguars and they were going to get Doug Peterson fired. And then that report comes out this morning that a decision could be made by tomorrow or this week. I'm like, oh yeah, I love when when I speak prophetic words. Now I'm not saying that the man should lose his job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not rooting for him to lose his job. Doug is not safe. What part of?
Because I mean,
if you watch the Jags,
I was just about to ask Anthony. Like, I don't know why necessarily you would think Doug would be safe if they would get rid of the OC. Because I feel like Doug is an offensive coach, so Doug kind of gets tied into that.
He is, and he always brings around that offensive coordinator. That's his guy. So they can't get rid of one without getting rid of both. So both of them are probably going to get canned within the next few hours. Right. They better enjoy their key card working while they do.
Right. Get to the facility as soon as you land, see if it works, and just don't leave. Pull a Seinfeld. I don't know. And, that might be too old of a reference because, like, George's going to get fired.
I know.
Yeah, George's about to get fired. He just kind of hold out in his office until they kind of forgot he was supposed to be fired. But so John says Trevor Lawrence was out, so watch might say Doug. That probably worked last year.
Because why
I think this year it's different.
That worked last year. And why would that report, which is a credible report from a credible source, say that?
But what John puts here is how bad teams operate. They'll make excuses for the coach, like, because that's what happened with Staley. There was like a couple of years where people were like, Staley's got to go, and he kept his job, and it was basically because the Chargers had injuries that year and everything like that. Look, if the coach is bad, the coach is bad. Get him out. It'll be interesting to see where Peterson goes after.
The couch.
Yeah, you don't think he'd get an OC job somewhere? Probably not a head coach, no, but OC somewhere, maybe?
Maybe. He might be a better coordinator than he is a head coach.
Right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Because his coordinator that he likes to bring around
just fired their head coach and nothing changed. Well, that's Aaron Rodgers.
That's a completely different level of dysfunction. That you can't compare that level of dysfunction. The Jags situation is yards different from the Cowboys and the Jets situation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Jets thing.
Aaron Rodgers got that man fired.
No, he liked to tell us he didn't. It was clearly him.
Look at what the defense is. And when you do things in a dysfunctional manner as the Jets operate, they always blow up in their face. A lot of the Jets' moves tend to blow up in their face.
Yeah.
That's an organizational issue. That's a Woody Allen, whatever his name is.
Woody Johnson.
Issue. Johnson. Just like Dallas has a Jerry Jones problem.
That made me think, what was Hassan Reddick's stats today? Oh, he had one assisted tackle. That's it. Nice. So he held out all those weeks to come back and do nothing. Great.
Yeah.
Glad I'm not a Jets fan. That's all I'll say.
And then he wanted a new contract before he stepped foot on the field.
Yeah. One assisted tackle. That's all you could do. No sacks, no nothing. Well, that's the Jets' problem. I don't care. All right, so I guess is there anything you want to touch on before we get out of here? Because, Sunday Night Football is about to kick off. Oh, so John says that
Mm,
Doug Peterson is 56 years old. He might go to college to help LSU as a coordinator or a Washington team. Okay, yeah, go to college and have fun. Some coaches,
stay away from my team.
I mean, yeah. I mean, looking at coaches who could be fired that are offensive minded, you'd like to think like if Dayball loses the Giants job, he'll probably be more sought after than Peterson. If McCarthy loses his job with Dallas, he'd probably be sought after more than Peterson. I'm trying to think who else. Who else is fighting for their job? Well, Eberflus is defensive, so he doesn't really count. Well, Cleveland, who knows what Cleveland's going to do? I would like to think Stefanski would be okay because of the chaos that surrounded that team, but we know how some of these teams act. So if Stefanski was out there, I'd probably look at him before Peterson too.
Right.
So yeah,
Cleveland would be a fool to let Stefanski
they
go.
would. Like that guy's had to deal with a lot of crap in Cleveland the past couple of years, namely.
But they're also a very foolish team.
Yeah. Okay. Vrabel will be the next Jags head coach. I wouldn't hate that for Vrabel. But I feel like a lot of people are trying to put Vrabel in New York.
I would hate that for him.
Which I would love to see Vrabel get after Aaron Rodgers. That would be hilarious to me. But I don't know if Vrabel wants to do it.
Because he would get
I
into
think that's what Rodgers needs, but Rodgers would probably run away from it. So maybe we should root for Vrabel to go to New York. Maybe that's what will get Rodgers into retirement. If Vrabel just walked through the door. Let's root for that. So I did that Ask Trajan before you came on. Top 5 teams in the NFL after what we've seen today.
Lions.
Wait. Your audio did that again. So I heard Lions. What was the second team?
Chiefs, and then the Bills, and then the Steelers.
Hold on. Yeah.
Not after that.
Okay.
But I'm thinking of number 5, and I'm like,
5 is tricky because you could look at how much you believe the Eagles. How much do you like? I mean, geez, I don't know. The Packers, the Vikings.
Vikings won because they had help by zebras.
Would you throw Packers as your number 5? No.
Inconsistent right now. He's going through his growing pains. It's gonna be one of those bird teams. I just don't know which one.
Because we did have a couple people who put theirs in the chat before. Because I think Trajan's was along the lines of what Anthony said. I can't remember Trajan's 5. Yeah, because Anthony had Lions, Bills, Steelers, Eagles, Chiefs. And John had Steelers, Lions, Eagles, Bills, Chiefs. So everybody's kind of set on those 5 teams in whatever order.
Then the Eagles. Let's put the Eagles in there. Bump Baltimore.
Yeah, nobody.
Because from the last 2 games, I've seen a lot of what I don't like.
I wasn't surprised.
And that was my
thought. Baltimore in their top 5. But yeah, nobody on here put Baltimore top 5.
The Falcons are falconing. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is, This is what happens when the games aren't at 1:00.
Mm-hmm. And they're not in Atlanta.
And they're not in it. They're not
Yes.
downtown. Yeah. Falcons are falconing.
Like,
I didn't expect that, but
yes, the way that they lost wasn't expected.
And that pass rush was going to be an issue.
Yes, that's always going to be an issue. And problem is, once again, for them winning the NFC South, they're going to probably be the 4 seed. I mean, right now they'd be looking at a matchup with the Vikings in the first round. I think if you're going to let Darnold just stand back there with no pass rush, you'll probably get early season Darnold, and he'll probably pick them apart with Jefferson and Addison. So I wouldn't necessarily like that for the Falcons. I mean, I don't like any of these wild card teams. Like, if they had to face the Packers, I think Jordan Love would destroy that defense, and Jaden Daniels would probably have a field day against that defense as well. So I honestly don't know what matchup works for the Falcons.
None. But they're gonna get one.
Yeah, right. Because luckily, I mean, the Bucks aren't really gonna challenge, and we know what the Saints are. So
The
Falcons will be the 4 seed.
For them to say that we lost to the Panthers, I'm like, y'all are a lot closer to the Panthers than y'all are to the Chiefs. I'm gonna need y'all to cut that out.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the Saints did win today against the Browns, but
it's the Browns, and with Mr. Lasik as quarterback.
Yep, pretty much.
What was I saying? I know I was saying something before the Falcons point. Oh, I want Baltimore to backslide. Because they've been doing some of this stuff all year.
I mean,
but Ravens fans glaze right on over.
They got the Broncos on their heels, only a game behind them.
And the Broncos almost could have been. If the Broncos showed up for a whole 60 minutes, they could beat that team.
Yeah, I was starting to look. I did not think Denver was going to be that good, and I know you don't like Sean Payton. I'm not a Sean Payton guy either. That team plays hard. I give them that credit. Bo Nix, a lot of people want him to fail, or not necessarily fail, but don't think he's that good. He's leading them to wins right.
They also hate him because they hate Payton.
That's also true. Yes. Yeah. Because actually, what were his numbers against the Falcons today? 28 for 33 for 307 with 4 touchdowns. Yeah, that's a pretty good day. Cortland Sutton destroyed the Falcons, 7 catches, 78 yards. Yeah, Bo Nixon was really good today. I'm not even going to lie. It was so bad that Michael Penix.
Well, when your head coach actually likes you and doesn't want to humiliate you at every opportunity, this is what you get.
Yeah, that's very true. But looks like Sunday night's kicked off, so we will call it there. I know a lot of you probably want to go ahead and catch that game. I think the Chargers have the ball right now on their own 10, so you guys can go ahead and check that out. Well, I guess before we go, who do you have winning tonight, Bengals or Chargers?
Ravens lost, so I got the Bengals winning.
I love that way of thinking. Because yes, I agree with you there. Would love to see Bengals fans give some back to the Ravens, who love to point out when the Bengals lose about Joe Burrow this, Joe Burrow that. Well, they can get a win today. They can do the same thing for Lamar Jackson. But yeah, so appreciate all of you that tuned in. Appreciate you, Jory, for coming on here at the second half. Always fun talking to you. Cavs are 15-0 now. I mean,
they'll fall back to earth.
Right. They're not going to go 82-0, but look, shout out to them. They're winning right now. They're feeling good. I always say when teams start off hot like that, what do they do once they lose 2 in a row? Does 2 in a row become 4 in a row, or does 2 in a row become like a new winning streak? So we'll see.
We'll see where Cleveland is in May.
Exactly. Yeah, but so make sure you guys come back next week. around 6:30 or so for another edition of Snap Counts podcast. Jory, you can, I guess, let them know where they can find you, what you got coming up, anything you want to plug. Oh, Jory might be frozen. Oh, well, it's fine. Yeah, so make sure you give us a like, follow and subscribe. Greatly appreciate that. Make sure you come back next week where, look, we'll be another week closer to the playoffs and everything like that. Oh, is she back now? No, she's still frozen. Okay. But yeah, so make sure you come back next week. We'll have some more discussions about what's going on and everything like that. Yeah, she timed out. But look, we're signing off. It's all good. But yeah, appreciate all of you. Make sure you come back next week. Check out the other shows here on the network. We have On the Ball coming up on Tuesday night. So make sure you check us out there. We'll have some more NFL talk. And we will talk about the Cavs and their start. Got to show them some love for what they've done. I believe On the Ball will be doing a watch along on Tuesday. I can't remember which game it is. It might be T-Wolves and somebody. I don't know, but probably a watch along going on there. So check that out and all the other shows. So enjoy the rest of your night. Go ahead and enjoy